It is 2 in the morning, and the world outside is completely still. Your bedroom is dark, your blanket is warm, and your body is exhausted. You closed your eyes 20 minutes ago, hoping to fall into a deep, peaceful sleep. Then, out of absolutely nowhere, an uninvited memory drops straight into your mind. It is not an important reminder or a helpful insight. It is that one terribly awkward thing you said in front of your entire class 7 years ago. You remember the exact look on their faces. You feel a sudden jolt of heat rise into your cheeks. You pull the pillow over your head and groan into the dark, wondering why your brain hates you so much. But your brain does not hate you. In fact, it is doing the exact opposite. What feels like self-sabotage is actually an ancient survival system running a high-priority diagnostic on your social survival. To understand why this happens, you have to look at what occurs when you try to fall asleep. During the day, your brain is bombarded with thousands of external sensory inputs. You are answering messages, navigating conversations, dodging traffic, listening to music, and completing tasks. All of this activity keeps your prefrontal cortex heavily occupied with the immediate physical present. Your executive attention network is constantly filtering incoming data so you can react to the world around you. But the moment you lie down in the dark and close your eyes, that sensory flood vanishes, the ambient noise stops. The visual inputs disappear, the immediate tasks are gone. When your external attention network goes quiet, a completely different circuit in your brain powers on. Neuroscientists call this the default mode network. The default mode network consists of an interconnected web of brain regions, including the medial prefrontal cortex, the posterior cingulate cortex, and the angular gyrus. This network activates whenever you are not actively focused on an external task. It is the engine behind daydreaming, future planning, self-reflection, and autobiographical memory retrieval. In a quiet, dark room with zero distractions, your default mode network has completely unrestricted control of the stage. Without external signals to anchor you to the physical present, your mind naturally turns inward. It begins rummaging through your historical archives. Why does it specifically pick the memories that make you cringe instead of the times you were brilliant, charming, or successful? The answer lies inside a small almond-shaped cluster of nuclei nestled deep within your temporal lobes called the amygdala. The amygdala is your brain's primary threat detector and emotional tagging mechanism. When an event happens in your life, your hippocampus records the factual details of what occurred. But it is the amygdala that stamps an emotional score onto that memory. The more intense the emotional reaction you had at the time, the deeper that memory is burned into your neural circuits. From an evolutionary standpoint, your brain has a powerful negativity bias. To your hunter-gatherer ancestors, forgetting where the sweetest berries grew was a minor inconvenience. But forgetting the bush where a predator jumped out was instantly fatal. Your brain evolved to prioritize negative experiences, threats, and mistakes over positive moments because surviving a danger is always more urgent than celebrating a win. You might wonder why an awkward handshake or a stumbled sentence in a meeting counts as a life-threatening danger. In modern life, an embarrassing moment is just a momentary social glitch. But to your ancestral brain, social belonging was literally a matter of life and death. For hundreds of thousands of years, human beings could not survive in the wild alone. Being cast out of your tribe meant starvation, exposure to the elements, and certain death. Your brain learned to equate social rejection, public failure, and awkwardness with physical extinction. When you commit a social misstep, your brain registers it not as a minor embarrassment, but as a dangerous breach of tribal belonging. When that memory is tagged with high emotional stakes, your amygdala flags it as an unresolved safety hazard. When the quiet of 2 in the morning arrives, your hippocampus and your default mode network retrieve these heavily tagged emotional files. Your brain pulls up the memory not to torment you, but to study it. It wants to replay the tape from start to finish to figure out what went wrong, why it went wrong, and how you can prevent it from ever happening again. Your brain is running an emergency post-mortem on a social mistake so you do not get exiled from the group. This brings us to a peculiar phenomenon. When you recall an embarrassing memory from years ago, your body reacts as if it is happening right now. Your heart rate speeds up, your stomach tightens into a knot, you experience an involuntary physical cringe. Why does a memory from 5 or 10 years ago still produce a fresh physical sensation? This occurs because of a process called memory reconsolidation and the way emotional tags are stored. Whenever you retrieve a memory, it does not function like playing an unalterable video file off a hard drive. Instead, your brain reconstructs the memory from scratch. During this reconstruction, the original emotional circuitry lights up alongside the factual details. If the emotional charge of that memory was never properly processed and desensitized, The amygdala fires the exact same stress signal it fired on the day the event occurred. In a landmark line of research by neuroscientist Matthew Walker and his colleagues on sleep and emotional memory, scientists discovered that one of the primary functions of sleep, particularly rapid eye movement or REM sleep, is overnight therapy. During REM sleep, your brain is supposed to replay emotional experiences in a neurochemically safe environment. During this phase of rest, levels of noradrenaline, a key chemical messenger associated with stress and physiological arousal, are completely shut off in your brain. This unique state allows your brain to process emotional memories and strip away the painful visceral charge while keeping the factual lesson intact. When you lie awake in bed in the middle of the night, you have not entered REM sleep yet. Your noradrenaline system is still fully active. When your default mode network dredges up that embarrassing memory while you are awake in the dark, you experience the full emotional sting without the protective, calming neurochemical environment of REM sleep. The memory feels raw, urgent, and intensely real. To make matters worse, another brain structure comes into play, the anterior cingulate cortex. This region is deeply involved in error detection and emotional regulation. It acts like an alarm bell whenever there is a mismatch between what you intended to do and what actually happened. When you remember saying the wrong name or dropping a tray of food, your anterior cingulate cortex lights up with an error signal. It screams that a mistake occurred. Because you are lying helpless in bed in the middle of the night, you cannot take any immediate physical action to fix the error. You cannot apologize, you cannot redo the interaction, you cannot change the outcome. Because your motor system is shut down and you are stuck in bed, that error signal has nowhere to go. It begins looping. Your default mode network replays the scene. Your amygdala injects a fresh wave of social anxiety. Your anterior cingulate cortex sounds the alarm. Your prefrontal cortex tries to rationalize what happened, but because you are tired, your executive control is weak. You end up trapped in a late-night rumination cycle where the same 10 seconds of your life repeat on a continuous loop. There is also a fascinating cognitive distortion at work here known as the spotlight effect. Coined by psychologists Thomas Gilovich and Kenneth Savitsky, the spotlight effect describes our universal tendency to overestimate how much other people notice and remember our flaws, mistakes, and awkward moments. Because you are the center of your own universe, your brain assumes that everyone else in that room was watching you under a blinding theatrical spotlight. You assume that every person present memorized your blunder and still thinks about it to this day. In reality, neuroscience and social psychology prove the complete opposite. Every single person in that room was also trapped inside their own default mode network. They were entirely preoccupied with their own insecurities, their own words, and their own awkward moments. The event that has haunted you for 5 years was likely forgotten by everyone else within 5 minutes. But your amygdala does not know that. It continues to treat the memory as a permanent mark on your social record. So what happens when you understand the machinery behind this midnight ambush? The next time your eyes snap open at 2 in the morning and a painful, cringe-inducing memory floods your awareness, do not fight it with frustration. When you fight the thought, you trigger an additional stress response, flooding your system with cortisol and keeping yourself awake even longer. Recognize the process for what it is. Acknowledge that your sensory world has gone quiet, your default mode network has simply taken the wheel, and your ancient survival brain is running an outdated security check. Your amygdala is just trying to protect you from being kicked out of a tribe that no longer exists. The mistake is in the past, the lesson has already been learned, and the danger is long gone. Your brain was never trying to punish you in the dark. It was just an overprotective guardian checking an old scar to make sure you are still safe. Thanks for watching the video, and don't forget to subscribe for more such interesting videos. Cheers and goodbye.